Today on the Daily Charge, is Touch ID making a comeback, silencing Alexa's listening habits, and how big a splash will the Galaxy Note 10 make?
Good morning and welcome to CNET's Daily Charge. It is Monday, August 5th. I'm Alfred Ng.
I'm Ben Fox-Rubin.
Let's take a look at today's headlines. Do you miss your Touch ID? With the iPhone 10, Apple looked to retire the fingerprint reader in favor of Face ID, which uses facial recognition to unlock your iOS devices instead. Now there's rumors Touch ID will return by 2021, according to Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. This will be in display like what the Samsung Galaxy S10 has. Is this something Apple has been trying to do for a while now?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you can already get it in the OnePlus phones this year and also the Samsung S10. So this is yet another example of Apple coming late to the party with new technology. But what's new?
I mean, do you know why it is that they have it but Apple doesn't?
That's a good question. According to some of the stories, Apple is struggling with their own type of technology, whereas there are some other folks that have already figured out how to do it. But I think they will eventually do it. But at the same time, a lot of people that use Apple have now moved on to Face ID. So we'll see if it's a big selling point.
Yeah, I was wondering why even bother bringing this back if Face ID is supposed to be this new standard. There's all these commercials about how quick Face ID is now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think maybe it's just for consumer options. But at the same time, with like my Samsung Galaxy S8, there are so many different options to unlock the phone. It gets kind of confusing. So, yeah.
Next up, Amazon announced on Friday that it will now let you opt out of having people reviewing your Alexa recordings. This comes after multiple stories highlighting that tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Apple were having humans listening to their conversations with voice assistants. They do this to train the voice assistant. The AI doesn't get better on its own. It needs real people to tell it when it makes a mistake and learn from those errors. The problem is not a lot of people knew that this was going on, and there were often private conversations with personal details that these people were listening to. Apple and Google said they were taking the same steps. Are you going to be opting out, Ben?
I already did.
Oh.
I mean, I opted out pretty quickly, actually. And at the same time, there was a toggle that requested people that used the Echo if you could, if you wanted to be involved in the development of new features. Mm-hmm. And I had already opted out of that a while ago. Mm-hmm. Now, in addition to that, if you toggle that off, now you're not going to be included in the workflow for manual review, which is I guess it's a euphemism for people actually listening to your recordings.
Do you think that all of these should be opt-in instead, where I don't have to go to my settings and say, please don't listen to me?
Yeah, fantastic question. Yeah. We talk about, that's choice engineering where opt-in and opt-out there's huge variations between those two. This is also not that easy to find these settings. You really have to dig through the Alexa privacy requirements. So this is a feel-good step for a lot of consumers that may have read about this, but I do often wonder how many people go through and actually then move forward with an opt-out.
And finally, today's main story, we're set to see a new Galaxy Note 10 this Wednesday. It used to be the hot new phone on the block, but as foldables are making their debut, it might be losing some of that shine. Ben, does it make sense to shell out all that money still for the Note 10 when the Fold is really right around the corner?
Yeah. If you're like a big Note enthusiast, there's probably two reasons why you would want to buy the Note instead of waiting for the Fold. One of them is that the Fold does not have a stylus, which is really interesting because you're paying $2,000 for the damn thing and it opens up and it's this big, beautiful screen, but hey, no stylus. And the other reason is that... you know what? I don't even remember. That's a good enough reason. I'm sticking with that one.
Our Sharp Tipkin wrote an analysis on this talking about how the Fold will basically cast this major shadow over the Note, where the Note is now kind of like this weird middle child between the Fold and the Galaxy S10 run, where they're very similar, the big difference being the pen itself and the features not being that different for somebody to want to pay for their Note 10 instead.
So, okay, I remember my other point. My other point is that the Galaxy Fold is still only in their first generation. So if you are going to buy it, you're going to be spending a lot more money than you would on the Note, and arguably it's probably going to be a lot glitchier.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about these stories, please check the links below. Go ahead and start sending in your questions and comments about today's headlines. Thanks as always to everyone joining us here. We stream weekday mornings at 11:15 a.m. on YouTube, Periscope, and CNET.com/dailycharge. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter, where we grow this channel. Time to check in with the chat and take your comments. BVG, what do the people want to know?
We lost him.
I'm here.
I don't want to know anything. Cool.
I'm
Great
digging
show.
out the questions as we speak. It takes a little bit of work behind the scenes here. Not
All
that
good.
much, but a little bit. So before we even get started, we talk about the new coming phones all the time, but Jay from Jersey is curious as to what everyone here on the show is running presently. Ben, you said you got the Galaxy Note 8, right?
Yeah, I have the no. I have the S8,
S8.
and I also have an iPhone 8. That's my work phone, and that one I use the Touch ID on it all the time. So I guess I can kind of see why people would want to use it. I'm not as into Face ID. I just my wife has a phone with Face ID on it. It seems to work just fine, but I think I would personally prefer Touch ID. So I like the idea of an iPhone bringing it back, but. The current iterations of in-screen fingerprint sensors are still a little wonky. They still need a little bit of work. That's a lot of what people say about the Galaxy S8, the S10 at this point, and also I think the One Plus. So there is going to be a little bit more work for them to get that tech right.
Alfred, what are you running?
I'm using an S10. I just use the fingerprint readers.
Does it work well for you?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And I myself am running a Galaxy S8 Active because I tend to beat the crap out of my phone, so that was a necessary add-on. Next comments coming in is, let's talk about the S Pen a little bit. Timothy's asking if Samsung will create a stylus for all Galaxy devices straight across the board. That would be nice, now wouldn't it?
It would be, but it's pretty unlikely.
I think they want to keep the S10 separate from the Note line. I think that's like a big distinction between the two.
And like really one of the only distinctions, we were talking about this earlier on the podcast, was that the S Pen, like you're going to buy a Note at this point for the S Pen, and they're going to continue to try to upgrade the S Pen. So for instance, last year they created kind of like a remote control for the S Pen where you could use it for selfies. You click it and then it helps you do the camera shutter. This year, the rumor is that they're going to add a tiny camera to the S Pen, which I guess could be useful for something.
Cool.
You seem super excited about that. So.
Yeah, South Korea already has a major problem of men sticking cameras in women's locker rooms, so this pen definitely won't be an issue.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
God.
I mean, that's a very good point. So there is definitely a creepy factor there.
Michael Brown says, welcome back, Ben. Who's the new guy sitting across from him? Welcome.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was off for a couple of days. I went on vacation. So, but nice to see you.
Michael also wants to know if there's an opt-out feature for the new guys trolling.
For the new guys trolling? I don't know. We're not looking at the comments. That's BVG, so.
That's me.
Yeah, BVG is opting people out, so. Nice.
Okay. Let's talk
There is an opt-out. Don't watch the show.
Okay. Timothy says, do you think there will be a bigger push for DeX or Bixby when they release the 10? Well, they always keep trying to push Bixby now, don't they?
I would say so. With DeX, I don't know nearly as much about
that. I was pretty excited for DeX when they announced it, and then it kind of just went nowhere. So that's unfortunate. And yeah, I haven't really seen that many updates on it since.
Yeah, they don't talk that much about it. There are obviously different ways to upgrade DeX and make it better. That's basically you use your phone as like you port it onto DeX, and then it kind of can be used as a laptop,
basically,
right?
It turns like other screens into like a Chromebook, basically, like through your phone.
I'm sure that has a lot of I'm sure it has its group of enthusiasts, but at the same time, it's probably still a niche product.
Yes.
We will almost definitely see some Bixby conversation. I feel like Samsung is going to continue pushing that. I have Bixby on my phone, and it's pretty terrible. So,
yeah. Do you ever use it?
Yeah, I do. I'm like, because I write a lot about voice and voice assistants. I kind of try to use this stuff as much as possible, and I've been really disappointed with
Can you
Bixby.
opt out of Bixby human listening?
Honestly, I really like want there to be more Bixby human listening, because maybe that will make it actually work better. Because at this point, like for instance, like I'll try to use it to call my wife or my older brother, which I do very consistently. Like I do it multiple times a week, and it repeatedly gets it wrong. It's like, I can't find that phone number. So I don't know if anybody in the chat regularly uses Bixby, but I've been routinely disappointed with it.
I'm going to go ahead and say the likelihood of that is pretty slim, as we're not terribly concerned about accidentally triggering anybody's voice assistant there. I know we tread lightly when it comes to Amazon's or Apple's or Google's to try to not trigger anybody's voice assistant, but have we ever been even moderately worried about triggering Bixby? Because I'm
No,
not.
I think
Bixby.
one of the reasons is that if you say Bixby out loud, it really doesn't do anything.
Yeah, don't you
It's
have
a
to press
button
the
you
button?
push.
Yeah.
You push a button kind of like you're talking to it like a walkie-talkie. So that's why you can say Bixby as much as you want, and it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Brian has a really good question. He says, is it time to retire the whole phone as a computer concept? Motorola tried it with the Atrix. Atrix.
It's the Atrix.
Gotcha. Microsoft tried it with the Continuum, and now Samsung with the Dex. Do we think that entire concept kind of stale? Are we kind of comfortable just kind of working off the
I
tablet
don't
screen?
think it's stale. I just like I think that's something people might be interested in if the infrastructure was there. Like if you went into like a coffee shop or something and they had those docks there that you could like plug your phone into and it would charge it and then also like just be able to like use it as a computer while you're there. That's kind of what they wanted with Dex, but the thing is that like there's a ton of places that just didn't have that and like you needed a Samsung phone for that to work. I feel like this is something that needs to be like universal for it to catch on because right now it's just Samsung and it's not like it's everywhere at all these different places. People are not going to carry around their own like Dex like setups to like go to like a coffee shop or something.
So it's interesting you mentioned that because you're a privacy reporter, and I wonder if there are any privacy concerns from setting up your phone into a Dex if it's in a public place.
Yeah, there's probably like concerns over that as well. I haven't really looked into the security implications on Dex.
Michael Brown says Bixby does a good job showing what the worst voice assistant should be like. There's always got to be a low bar to set from. That's an optimistic way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not Siri anymore.
No, it's not. Congratulations, Samsung. Timothy says, the camera on the S Pen, what's the battery life like for that?
I don't know, and it's still a rumor, so we're not really sure. But I would say you should definitely like expect to see some upgrade for the S Pen again because this is really the only differentiating factor for the Note at this point. One of the other rumors that seems pretty solid at this point is that they're going to have two different Notes, and one of them is going to be a bigger screen Note. So if you're really desperate for an even bigger phone than what you would get with the S10 Plus, then you would get, I guess it would be called the Note 10 Plus, and that's going to be even bigger. So congratulations.
Michael Brown says, no stylist forever changes the song No Stylist by Drake and DJ Khaled for me. I'm too old to understand that reference. Ben, do you know what that one is?
I don't really listen to anything by DJ Khaled, but, you know.
He's the best.
Okay.
He yells it
He's
8
the
times.
best in the world.
He just yells "We the best" like 8 times in his songs.
I mean, like I listen to some Drake, but I don't know. He was extremely annoying to watch during like the NBA playoffs.
They had a song called "No Stylists," like cloves.
I like you explaining things to me. By the way, it's usually the opposite, where I have to tell you what a book is.
Yeah.
That's the new theme of the show. All right, let's talk a little bit about smart speakers. Timothy, since we're already on the concept of the voice assistant in-home smart home stuff, whatever happened to the Samsung smart speakers?
They're like still coming. We might actually even get an update on Wednesday when this event is. It's 4 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see about that.
I really hope they have foldable smart speakers.
You know what would be cool? You know those like crumpling cups for camping? That would be sweet. You know, like the cup
the
disposable.
that you...
No.
The Russian doll
collapsible.
cups?
Collapsible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually
so
have
like,
one of those. They're pretty convenient.
Right. If you could do that with a
With
smart speaker,
yeah,
and like put it in your back
rule.
pocket or something. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to do that, unfortunately. So
That's $1 million idea.
S Pen voice speaker. You're talking to like a microphone.
right.
All right. Yan says, Google introduced the new ML technique called federated learning. Could this be applied to a smart speaker so no data will leave the speaker for optimization?
What? What learning?
Federated learning. That's what he says.
I don't know. If this is a data question related to smart speakers, I guess I'll like pivot to saying that there is a possibility that smart speakers in the future will do a lot more like localized processing of questions, and so it's not going to rely on the cloud nearly as much as it does today. That could, in theory, make it much better from a privacy perspective, but There's just been conversation about that at this point. There's really hasn't been as much movement to make smart speakers do a lot more local computing. They're also super cheap, so doing that might cause them to
they would
raise
get
their
because they would
price.
need to have storage, and like voice data like takes up a lot of space too.
Right, and they have minimal storage
Yeah.
at this point. So yeah.
I've pulled up the blog, the Google AI blog here. Let's take a look. It says federated learning enables mobile phones to collaboratively learn a shared prediction model while keeping all the training data on the device, decoupling the ability to do machine learning from the need to store the data in the cloud. So I guess it's just like not leaking data.
I think that's
a sell
different though.
point?
That's like predictive algorithms, which is a little bit different than learning from like voice data. There's a lot more like bandwidth that goes into that than what you're talking about.
At the same time, it is another concept of doing more localized computing than relying on the cloud. That seems to be catching a lot more interest these days than there used to be. At the same time, I kind of feel like once we start pushing in that direction a lot more, if that does end up happening, there's going to be more awareness of what some of the weaknesses of doing that are. Like, for instance, if you do so much of your computing on your phone and all the information is on your phone, you drop it in the toilet and it stops working, you just lost, the documents on it, the photos, whatever. So there are reasons why we switched over to cloud computing in the first place, and it's become, so like deeply embedded in a lot of tech these days.
Brian M. says, I personally think any statistic gathering should be opt-in. I would opt in because I want the tech to get better, and I don't think I'm alone. That said, when the companies go all about it and behind our backs, we lose trust. That's well said.
Yeah, opt-in is clearly the better security, privacy model for a lot of people where, I don't have to, go to my settings and say, I don't want to be a part of this. It's just, I come in and say, I want to help you out, and let's change it that way. The problem is that so GDPR, like the European privacy law, made it so that you have to opt in to like get your cookies tracked and all that stuff when you visit these websites. But it leads to notice fatigue.
Yep.
In the sense of like,
I was just about to say that.
Think about all the websites that you go on now where like there's a small pop-up that's like, hey,
we've got cookies.
we're tracking you, by the way. Just letting you know, if you don't want to do that, then like please leave our website. That's the opt-in model currently, which is not really opt-in because it's kind of like if you by using our website you're opting in, which is not like you shouldn't be able to do that. I should be able to use a website without them being able to track me and then if I wanted them to, then I can opt in for that. They're saying that like it's like take all. Like you can't just visit our website and not be tracked. Like you're opting in
Right.
by visiting our website.
There is an awareness, though, on the tech company side and on those website side to say if you make it more difficult to opt in, or because they understand that opt in basically means that 90% of people plus
Yeah.
are not going to opt in because people would prefer their privacy, then they're not going to get those cookies. They're probably not going to make as much money, and the website could potentially fail. It's the same thing with smart speakers. Smart speakers largely work because there are humans telling the computer whether they're understanding this information correctly or not. And, we were just making fun of Bixby. If Amazon or Google, their smart speakers or their voice assistants didn't work as well, then people wouldn't want to use them. Consumers would be kind of upset about it. So I'm curious to see if this opt-out model, just this like very simple toggle buried in the Alexa privacy features, is going to make this problem go away for Amazon, or if people are going to say, no, that's not good enough. We want more than that. And we're still waiting on Apple and Google. Apple and Google globally stopped human reviews. So they're still going to make a decision sometime in the next couple months as to whether they're going to do a different thing than what Amazon did, or they're just going to go back to how it was and say, all right, we reviewed it and everything's fine and we're cool. Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Here's an interesting thought. Timothy says, when you're using the Amazon Echo, can you broadcast to other devices when you're outside of the home? Says, I've used the broadcast feature on Google. It's amazing. For example, when I need to carry like grocery bags into the house without calling, without touching anything, I just broadcast to the devices. So I picture him yelling at his phone saying, unlock the door, turn on the lights kind of thing while he's outside, so he doesn't have to be in range of the smart home itself. Is that an option we see coming to Amazon sometime in the near future?
Yeah, they talk about that quite a bit. I don't think that they've really rolled out a lot of those features quite yet, or if they are, they're still very much in their infancy. But as Amazon pushes its voice assistant more into automotive, you're going to see a lot more of that. The problem is that you're also going to be opting into having Amazon track your location a lot more frequently. So that's going to be in auto and also in mobile. Now, granted, I know Apple will track you on your phone. Google will track you on your phone. So maybe people are just used to that at this point and they're okay with it. But
Also, wait, when does Apple track you on your phone?
doesn't Apple track you on your phone?
No.
Okay, cool. Never mind.
I'm
I
gonna do
thought
my
like an iPhone.
I mean, there's
They
like
know
Find
your
My
location
iPhone.
is.
Yeah, there's that. There's
Yeah.
like GPS location, but it's not like Apple uses that data.
I thought they're like always like aware of where you're located, whether it's Apple or Google for like their operating
I think we're
systems.
talking about like the usage of it though. You're right that yes, the GPS on your phone is active and like the companies are aware of it, but like there's a difference in like how that data is used.
What's the difference?
Okay. Google uses your location like history and all that like oftentimes for advertising and personalization. That's why like sometimes when you look up directions, it'll just say home or work, even though you never told Google where you work. Yeah, Apple Maps is different in that regard where they specifically use location stuff for things like the weather, find my iPhone, find my friends, that kind of thing.
Cool. Thanks. That was very helpful.
As tracking continues to progress, I fully expect a letter of concern coming from Amazon while they track my location saying, you go to you go to Two Brothers Pizza a lot. You should probably be concerned about your cholesterol.
No, they're going to like just sell you more Two Brothers Pizza.
No, they're going to refer me to a doctor. That's what they're going to do.
They'll do both. They'll be like, eat more pizza, and here's a doctor that's going to tell you how to eat more pizza. Uh-oh, somebody's bowling up over us.
As a reminder, we do have ongoing construction going on in our office building, so apologies for the extraneous noise. Hopefully it will be done sooner than later, but I have no
We're actually
ETA.
just stomping really hard under this table. So
Okay, we have just a few minutes left. Michael Brown says, in terms of privacy, if Google gave up advertising, which of course they'll never do, how much are you willing to pay monthly for an a la carte Google app, like a search, YouTube, Gmail, Google Drive inclusive app?
like a la carte.
I think that's what he meant.
A la carte.
I
Yeah.
can't. I'm reading verbatim because I'm an idiot. So yeah, that was a la carte. Go ahead and sound off in the comments about what an idiot I am.
That's okay. I probably would have done that too, honestly.
I don't think people would. I think people would just turn to a free alternative, to be honest. Like they would just go to Bing or Google or not Google, sorry, Yahoo or DuckDuckGo. That are like DuckDuckGo is free and offers like privacy features. They make their money off of contextual advertising as opposed to personalized advertising. So back when before Google had all these algorithms, instead of the advertising model was basically if I'm searching up cars, they'll show me ads for cars, not show me ads for sneakers that I looked at like 10 days ago, right? That's contextual advertising, and like that's the model that DuckDuckGo works off of, and it's perfectly fine for them. Same thing with like Brave browser, doesn't track all of your data. Like Mozilla's very similar to that too with Firefox. They don't track all this stuff, and they're not dabbling in advertising, and they're doing pretty fine financially, and they're also free. So yeah, I don't think people would pay for like Google's feature. Like the closest thing I could see people paying for would be like Android, but even on that sense, like you could just pay for an iPhone and not have to deal with all those advertising like concerns.
So it's interesting. It's worth mentioning that Mozilla is a nonprofit. I'm trying to find out if DuckDuckGo is also a nonprofit. It means that they're able to provide these services
I
without
don't believe
nearly as much.
DuckDuckGo is a nonprofit.
I think they might be a for-profit company, and in this regard, it might actually be beneficial for consumers that it is a for-profit company.
Yeah,
just
they're
to
not-
prove the fact that like
they're not a
for-profit can actually
nonprofit.
work.
Yeah, but they also only make up like 1% of the search
right.
searches online.
Yeah.
Which
so,
is still pretty big. That's like a decent dent, and like compared to like all its other rivals, like no other one of like Google's rivals has really like hit like the percentage like mark like that.
well, Bing is something. I don't
Yes.
know what number it is, but it's been more or less stagnant. Going back to like, I was listening to a House hearing. This was a judicial committee talking about different monopolies, and whereas Facebook talked a lot about how TikTok was growing really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, we got to watch out for TikTok. Like, obviously we're not a monopoly because of TikTok. Google, under no circumstances, maybe they did, but I don't even remember them ever mentioning DuckDuckGo at all.
Yeah.
Because DuckDuckGo is still like a really small player. I think they've been getting a little bit more attention, but Google is so embedded in so many different things that, switching to DuckDuckGo is pretty difficult because like they don't have a browser the same way Google does. They don't have a mobile operating system. So going back to the original question, I think this was from Michael, like what would you pay for? I could see in theory paying like maybe $5 a month for like a social network that wasn't going to have as many like trolls or the same problems that Facebook does because it's free to sign up to a new account. But I think the cat's out of the bag as far as like email is concerned. There are so many different free email providers. That's never going to change. For search, I don't know. Like I'm not so bothered by the information that Google gets about me that I would end up paying money for search.
Yeah.
I would be opting in if it came with a nail cart. Storm King asks, do you think one of the versions of the Note 10 will actually come with a headphone jack? Michael Brown follows that up with, when do you think the no headphone jokes will die?
Yeah, the rumor is that there's going to be no headphone jack on the Note 10.
I don't think there's going to be a version with a headphone jack.
Right. Yeah, they're either going to have it or they're not going to have it, and there are apparently going to be 4 different versions of this phone. They're going to be smaller, bigger, and then 5G smaller, 5G bigger. I don't know why they're getting rid of the headphone jack because apparently the headphone jack was included in the S10.
That was a big reason
right?
why I got it. Yeah. That was a big reason why.
So I don't really understand why they would then decide to get rid of it in the Note 10, especially if it's like a bigger phone or a slightly bigger phone. But
it could be a manufacturing cost. I don't know, actually.
It should be super cheap to use headphone jacks, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and the jokes will continue on until morale improves. Yeah, it's a dead horse, but people on the internet are really good at making bad jokes die. So yeah, they'll keep going on. No one will think it's funny, and you'll still hear about it like 10 years from now. We're still rickrolling people, guys. Like,
I like rickrolling.
That's my point. Yeah,
I'm part of the problem. Yeah.
So yeah, they'll never die.
I hate to say this though, but I've moved on from the whole headphone jack thing. I bought AirPods, and now I don't care as much about headphone jacks. And yeah, I made fun of AirPods a lot on this podcast, but I don't. It happens. I resisted for years, and then I finally decided to buy them. And they're actually
resisted for 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Wow.
So real quick before we wrap it up, shout out to Jeremy Covington. He says DuckDuckGo is built in Safari and very easy to activate. I was not even aware of that.
Yeah.
But I don't really use Safari
that's
that much.
That's a useful, workaround if you don't like Google as much.
Yeah, it's also you can use it as a search engine for Firefox as well. That's it.
I mean, you could pretty much opt anything in on Firefox as far as the search engines goes, which is why Firefox is a superior browser.
You know what? You might actually be able to do DuckDuckGo on Chrome as well, because I know that Google does provide on its browser to switch to a different default. I just don't know if DuckDuckGo is included. I do know that Bing has been included in the past.
At the very least, someone has probably developed a plugin for it. So.
Yeah.
Matthew Datcher says, I'm already paying about $100 a year for Google Apps. He's got a Google business account with just one user on that domain. I myself do pay for Google storage, so there's that. I don't know if that's really worth a damn to even bring up. And before we go, Jay from Jersey says, any mention on the price of that Note 10?
It'll definitely be more than $1,000. I think the rumors are that it's going to start at $1,000 and go from there. And yeah. The bigger one and the bigger 5G one, yeah, you're going to be spending out a lot of money. But worth noting, the Galaxy Fold is expected to come out in September now. So if you're dying for the Galaxy Fold, don't
die. Don't die for a phone. It's not worth it. Like, that phone's not even that good.
Yeah. He's right.
Well said, and a perfect note to go out on our brand new Monday back here at the Daily Charge. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Alfred, do you want to take us out?
Yeah, thank you again for joining us. Please do not die. Tag us online and let us know what you want to see on the show. For the Daily Charge, I'm Alfred Ing.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
Thanks for listening.